Hi, welcome to our channel Good New. Following the start of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, Western nations simultaneously sanctioned Russia, making it impossible for Russia to buy the necessary chips from reliable foreign vendors. The sanctions also had an impact on its domestic wafer manufacture at the same time. Russia is developing investment plans to resuscitate failing semiconductor production in order to circumvent U.S. prohibitions. By the end of 2022 and the end of 2030, mass production of the 90 nanometers and 28 nanometers processes, respectively, is planned. As far as I'm aware, the Russian government has developed a preliminary version of a new microelectronics industry development plan, which calls for spending $38.43 billion by 2030 on chip design, data center infrastructure development, talent cultivation related to semiconductors, sales of chip solutions, etc. What challenges is the Russian semiconductor sector now facing? What is the purpose of Russian semiconductor development? How is the Russian semiconductor industrial chain being built locally? In today's video, I'll respond to these inquiries. What challenges does the Russian semiconductor industry first face? Russia has always had some success with software and high-tech services, but it lags behind in chip design and production. Because of American technological restrictions, particularly in chip production, Russia was formerly limited to producing only aging and mature process chips. The data indicates that Micron and ArcTPM are the two main integrated circuit producers in Russia. The main producer and exporter of microelectronics in Russia is Micron, which can only provide 65 to 250 nanometers process technology for manufacturing. According to statistics, more than half of Russia's microelectronics exports come from Micron. Micron intended to construct a 12-inch wafer fab and a new 28 nanometers manufacturing line after achieving mass production of the 65 nanometers technology in 2015, but the United States placed restrictions on the semiconductor machinery that could be bought. Additionally, the only 8-inch fab that can offer 90 to 250 nanometers process technology exists. It primarily offers industrial, aeronautical, and military goods. This also makes imports the major source of chips for Russia. Data from United Nations Comtrade shows that in 2020, Russia imported $1.25 billion worth of chips and $440 million worth of semiconductor machinery. According to statistics from Russian customs, a significant portion of the country's imports of chips, mostly from Germany, China, the United States, Hong Kong, Finland, Japan, Lithuania, France, Latvia, and the United Kingdom, are analog semiconductors used in switches and motor controllers. It should be noted that some of these sources could just be stopovers on the way elsewhere. Infineon, Integra, Mitsubishi Group, Micron, ABB, Fuji, Amplion, ON Semiconductor, ST Microelectronics, and Vishay are the top 10 chip manufacturers in Russia. The semiconductor sector has often minimized the effects of the international restrictions that block Russian access to semiconductors. According to the story, since Russia doesn't purchase many sophisticated semiconductors and isn't actively involved in their design or manufacturing, the sanctions imposed in reaction to the invasion of Ukraine won't have a significant effect. That is accurate in certain respects. According to experts and industry association estimates, Russia doesn't spend a lot of money on chip imports in comparison to other nations. Russia uses around 0.1%, or $500 million, of the $550 billion worldwide chip business, or about $500 million worth of semiconductors annually. Additionally, just 1% of servers shipped globally and 2% of computers and smartphones are purchased by Russia, according to Bernstein analyst Stacy Raskin. The U.S. Department of Commerce launched sanctions on Russia in February of this year, embargoing a range of technology and goods, including semiconductors, computers, telecommunications, information security systems, lasers, and sensors. After that, the European Union, Japan, Taiwan, and other nations imposed sanctions on Russia in turn. This limits both the export of Russian-designed chips and the purchasing of chips from certain nations and areas by Russia. On March 31 of this year, The U.S. Treasury Department also imposed penalties against people and organizations involved in Russian technology and networks, including Micron, the country's largest chipmaker. Additionally, it took a bigger toll on Russia's domestic chip production. One noteworthy development is that it appears to also be affecting the Mir chips required for Russia's national payment card system, also known as Mir, which were made by Micron. Russia is starting to think about sourcing chips for its Mir payment cards from China. Russia has also started to actively develop a domestic semiconductor industrial chain to address the current situation. What is the purpose of Russian semiconductor development? Russia is to spend 420 billion rubles, approximately $5.2 billion, on new production technologies and future enhancements in the semiconductor manufacturing sector. The development of a 90 nanometers technology to increase chip output by the end of 2022 is one of the short-term objectives. All digital goods will be able to be created in Russia by 2024. Establishing chip production based on the 28 nanometers process node by 2030 is another longer-term objective. TSMC, on the other hand, succeeded in mass producing using the 28 nanometers technology in 2011. A different aspect of the initiative focuses on growing the chip design sector and homegrown semiconductor expertise. Russia establishes a regional semiconductor industry network. Russian media has previously reported that Russia has started working on developing its own lithography equipment. The Russian Ministry of Trade and Industry has commissioned the Moscow Institute of Electrotechnical Technology, MIET, to create the lithography machine required to produce chips. In the project's initial phase, the Russian government put 670 million rubles, approximately 51 million yuan, into it. Although the designed lithography machine is intended to operate at EUV levels, it does not employ EUV lithography. Instead, it is based on synchrotron and/or plasma. The Xray lithography machine's source, without a mask. The lithography resolution is substantially greater since the Xray lithography machine employs X-rays with a wavelength between 0.01 nanometers and 10 nanometers, which are shorter than EUV extreme ultraviolet radiation. Additionally, the Xray lithography machine has an advantage over the present EUV lithography machine in that it may be used directly for lithography without the need for a photomask, which also results in significant financial savings. The technology of Xray lithography is not new. In addition to the United States and Europe, China has scientific research institutes that have produced Xray lithography equipment. Russia and ASML have previously worked together on scientific projects. The Xray lithography machine has a low production efficiency while having a high resolution and not requiring a photomask. As a result, the Xray lithography machine can only be found in laboratories and will never be sold. However, Russia's own chip demand is small, and it is constrained by other nations, therefore it makes sense to construct an Xray lithography equipment. In conclusion, I believe that the lithography machine is simply a crucial aspect of the fabrication of semiconductors, and it is difficult for Russia to establish a localized semiconductor production line. Even though mainland China has not fully localized chip manufacture to yet, despite the fact that Russia's semiconductor plan is comprehensive and includes several objectives, there is still a significant gap between Russia's semiconductor industry base and mainland China. Gap. It will be extremely difficult for Russia to accomplish its goals by 2030 since it is unable to leverage the technology developed in the United States, Europe, Japan, and other nations. But I think Russia can succeed in this endeavor. I think Russia may ask China for technical help and assistance in addition to raising the technological level. Of course, China is also prepared to assist Russia in regaining its semiconductor prestige and power given their cordial diplomatic ties. Thanks for watching in this video. You can add your ideas or suggestions below. Please keep following our channel and like our videos.